How's it going? How many have already chanted 16 rounds? Ooh. How many have already chanted 32 rounds? I got up really early. That's how you do it. You get up early. So this is our 64-round day. For those of you that feel it's like that's the bar is too high for 64, do the best you can. Not a race or a competition or a comparison. I did this and you did that. It's not like that. However, numerical chanting is valuable. And on occasion, from time to time like this, when we're together with others that are similarly engaged, it's a really good opportunity to plunge deeply into the sound vibration of the holy name together with others who are doing the same thing. So we'll, by design, this morning's class is short, so we can get on with our 64 rounds. And according to the schedule, I don't have the schedule in front of me. What time do we assemble again for the sharing of what our experience was, our little journey, 64-round day journey? 4:45. Good. 4:45. So I'll share some things at the very end to make your experience as good as possible, or better. And here's our theme. Is anybody with us this morning that is joining us with, wasn't here yesterday, day before? Okay. Well, thank you for coming. Wish you could have been here before, but here we go. The theme, Awakening Nama Rasa, has to do with, well, I'll say it a little differently than I've been saying it. According to the Shruti mantras, Raso Vai Saha. Saha is a pronoun referring to the absolute truth. Vai means certainly. The absolute truth is Rasa. So within Krishna is everything. The name is not different than the person. And so within the name is Rasa. So awakening Nama Rasa is to connect with the name, because we have an eternal relationship with Krishna, which means we have an eternal relationship with the name, because the name and the person aren't different. The name, Krishna and his abode are not different. Krishna and his form are not different. Krishna and his name are not different. We've been hearing that the name has form, name has personality. Not like there's the name, then over there is the form, or over there is the personality, and over there, somewhere else, is the pastimes. Everything is found within the name. So, Rasa, our eternal relationship with Krishna, is accessible, especially in this age, through the name. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalo nastyeva gatiranyata. So our Japa retreat is to access Krishna through his name. So I'm going to say a few things purposefully, again, because they may be helpful to you, those of you that were attending and those of you that weren't here. chant in the mood of serving the name. And when you do that according to our Vaishnava teachings, then you can know who Krishna really is. In the mood of service to the name. And the name and the person are non-different. And we need to do this very carefully. The pronunciation of the sound, the hearing of the sound, aligning, those are bodily functions, what your mouth does, and posture is important to stay alert and awake and so forth. Align the body, mind, and heart, we discussed alignment. And call out according to the songs that we heard from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This is a little review to help you with your 64-round day. It's not possible. Haridas Thakur confirms, it's not possible to curb the restless mind just by our own effort. We require mercy. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very merciful. He gives the name and he gives his mercy. Call out during the day, we'll be before the deities. Lord Chaitanya is there. Call out. And if you approach Lord Nityananda, who grants us the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, even more mercy will come because he's the distributor of Lord Chaitanya's mercy. Call out for mercy so that the restless mind can become controlled. And then it's possible. There's many of the elements of carefully chanting. This verse from Nectar of Instruction. We're distracted by our affinity for the temporary, known as avidya. We identify with the temporary instead of who we are. And this sweet name has the effect of removing the jaundice-like condition of avidya. And when avidya is gone, vidya or knowledge or gyan awakens from the heart. This is the reciprocation from Krishna. But it's carefully chanting. We discussed at length. Carefully chanting. And it uproots the cause, the root cause, permanently. Not just da 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 da. We know that one. Like the Ferris wheel, like a child. So we have in our unsteady bhakti, we have this, you'll probably experience it today, highs and lows. Almost for certain, almost for certain. Because of the contamination. Keep going with faith, because the contamination is removed. So chant with faith and chant calling out. And you'll find the mercy of the name, because we heard this yesterday evening. The name form is even more merciful than the personal form, although they're the same. Won't cover that topic. So this morning, we're going to, that was review. For those that weren't with us and those that were with us, these are tools that may help you. Not only today, but tomorrow and carrying on. At the end of yesterday's session was a Sankalpa exercise. So those of you that were here, bring to mind that Sankalpa that you wrote down and shared with your partner. That will also help you. So now comes our theme verse from Nectar of Instruction, text 7. We'll chant together. Syat Krishna Nama Charitadi Satapya Vidya Pito Patapta Rasanasya Narochikano Kintva Darad Anudinam Kalu Saiva Jushta Swad Vikramad Bhavati Tad Gulamula Hantri. So we saw this word adarad before. Now we're revisiting it. Adarad means chanting carefully. So I'll read the translation. The holy name, character, pastimes, and activities of Krishna are all transcendently sweet like sugar candy, although the tongue of one afflicted by the jaundice of avidya cannot taste anything sweet. It is wonderful that simply by adarad, carefully chanting these sweet names every day, a natural relish awakens within his tongue, and his disease is gradually destroyed at the root. Note, it's like Chaitudarpana Marjanam and Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam, just in Rupa Goswami's words, last part of this translation. So we're going to spend some time now with Bhaktisiddhanta and then Srila Prabhupada, who wrote and spoke on this topic of carefully chanting adarad. And it's going to be quick, so you're going to have to pay attention. It's in your handout sheet if you want to read it as I'm speaking it, page 17, starting at the top. Heading, O Harinam, please enter my heart through my ears. Same Rupa Goswami's message. Without Shravana, there is no Kirtana. First Shravana, then Kirtana. Next. This is a collection of sayings of Bhaktisiddhanta published by his disciples. Unless accompanied by Shravana, any attempt to perform Kirtana must be material. Repeated hearing gives rise to Kirtana and Smarana. By hearing Kirtana, one begins to perform Kirtana, and from performing Kirtana, Smarana of Hari Katha awakens. Next. The name of the Lord and the Lord himself are not two separate entities, but one. When the sound of the holy name passes over the lips, the conditioned sense of hearing and the conditioned consciousness initially process the sound as if it were material. And that is how it is perceived. As a result, only the external ear hears it. Since the other senses and the mind, which is the collector of sensory experience, are envious of the ear, which they consider to be an equal partner, the result is that such chanting does not affect the cleansing of anarthas. We do not have the capacity even to theoretically know that the name and the Lord of the name are one. Just as piercing the ear is one of the Vedic rites for a young child, when our spiritual ear has been pierced by the holy name, the other senses give up their envy of the auditory sense they no longer quibble with the ear, which alone can perceive transcendental sound. Then the flood of prema pours forth from all the spiritual senses and cleans away the contamination of opposition and malice. Thereafter, the Lord's beautiful form, qualities, associates, and pastimes are revealed in the name himself and experienced by the chanter as something quite distinct from his previous experiences in the mundane world. Then the kinds of worries and distractions of the mind that are typical of the conditioned living being cannot remain. When we learn to hear as we chant, the opportunity to remember Krishna will automatically arise. So the higher stages come from hearing. But the higher stages aren't going to come from hearing unless we're hearing. And hearing in a very special way, hearing in a spiritual way, not a mental adjustment way. Okay, the name is Krishna himself. It's not going to happen that way. The Prabhupada's phrase in the Bhagavatam is ardent hearing. Then, this discussion about mind and heart, that's the heart. It can be, with feeling, I want relief from this mind. Here. Or it can be, I want to be in my relationship with Krishna. Then here. That's the spiritual motivation. That's the spiritual why. And it can be a negation of the material, but the higher is, I want to be, Krishna, please accept me. This is Prabhupada's words that we heard. Or, I want to be engaged in Krishna's service. I'm most unqualified, but I'm shameless. I'm asking anyway. Rupa Goswami's words. Because it's my only hope. I have no other shelter. I've tried other shelters. They're not shelters. Antavat tu palam tesham. They're very limited and temporary. There's no lasting anything. Certainly not lasting happiness, not lasting relief. Krishna. So Japa retreats are to help us go there in that way. And I find of all, this is personal, of all the messages, because I've conducted this type of presentation, Japa retreat, 5-6 times, including once in China. And the two outstanding things for me are chanting in the mood of service and hearing conquers the mind. So if in the course of today you find maybe your mind will start to wander, maybe not, but if your mind starts to wander, step back, hit the reset button, and just try to hear. Something that can help you if you're not able to hear, it's a trick. It tricks the mind. Pronounce carefully. To check whether you're pronouncing carefully, you have to hear. Now that's just a attentive type of hearing, and then after some time the mind will start to wander again. So a higher purpose is to enter into the rasa of the name, enter it to make that Krishna connection. That's our means. Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundara Ki Jai. Carrying on to the next page, 18. The mind and body are upadis, or external casings. The soul is actually free from all this. Our soul has to be set free from external contamination. All perishable values require to be eliminated. Then we shall see that we have devotion. We are devotees. Transcendental sound will be the agency. Krishna Chaitanya has told us to place our reliance solely on the name of Hari. The transcendental sound has got the potency to regulate our other senses. But you have to hear it. Sound is to be heard. We vibrate it, but it starts with Shravanam, the hearing. Then comes our proper chanting, hearing. Going down, in yellow highlight, the only function of the voice is to chant. In the kirtan of Hari, which is identical with and inseparable from the simultaneous service of Hari by all the other senses, one who does not employ his voice constantly and exclusively in chanting the kirtan of Hari has no access to the service of Hari by any other faculty. Elsewhere, he states specifically, kirtan doesn't just mean the musical, and that's kirtan, and the other is not kirtan. What we'll be doing is kirtan, calling, shravanam, kirtanam. I mean, in our ISKCON vernacular, kirtan and Japa have these distinctions. He doesn't use the term that way. It's chanting. We'll be chanting. In all respects, pray to Sri Nama for his mercy. Nama bhajan completely fulfills the jiva's every need. Now, you know, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur performed chanting equal to that of Haridas Thakur. We're going to be chanting 64 rounds today, many of us. And he chanted 3 times 64 rounds every day for almost 4 years. Every day? Like no vacation. He was powerful. So he has full realization, no question about it. Haridas Thakur's writings are limited, at least, in terms of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's expressing what his words were. But Bhaktisiddhanta was prolific and with equal realization. So his words are powerful. Here's just some images again. I put this here because from previous Japa retreats, devotees said this really helped them, just visualizing this image, because the lotus at the top, that's Shuddhanam, and what's the reflection at the bottom is Nam Abbas, the reflection of the name. So we want to go to the Shuddhanam stage. That's Krishna himself. This next one is maybe more for me than anybody else, but I particularly like this writing of Rupa Goswami describing his experience of chanting. So I'll just read it again. 4 parts. I do not know how much nectar the 2 syllables Krishna have produced. That's Nama Rasa. When the holy name of Krishna is chanted, it appears to dance within the mouth. We then desire many, many mouths. So, sequentially, mouth, sound, the name. And Krishna's dancing because it's metaphorical, but it's literal also. Because Nama Rupa, the name has form and it's dancing in your mouth. When that name enters the holes of the ears, we desire many millions of ears, such nectar. And when the holy name dances in the courtyard of the heart, it conquers the activities of the mind, and therefore all the senses become inert. Exactly what Bhaktisiddhanta said, it's just follow Rupa Goswami. This is Rupa Goswami's realization and expression. To conquer the mind, to conquer the activities of the restless mind, turbulent mind, distracted mind, the holy name has to enter the heart, but it does through the ear, into the courtyard of the heart. The mind, the activities of the mind become conquered. It's possible. And the senses become inert. Inert in the sense, just like in the Ashtanga Yoga process, there's the Pratyahara stage. Pratyahara means withdrawal of the senses. So we were speaking about conscious and consciousness, like 5 times people are asking. So consciousness is extended out into the world around us, and the object of the senses are perceived by consciousness through the senses. So Pratyahara is a stage where the yogi grandfather Bhishma did, for example. He withdrew his senses. It's not like his arms went into his body. He withdrew the consciousness extending out and consolidated within. That's the Ashtanga Yoga process. We read this from Canto 2, Chapter 2. It's the same through the chanting of the name, if done properly. That is, the senses become inert. That's the subtle sense. You can still see, you can still everything. But the subtle sense becomes withdrawn, or as the mind becomes conquered, the senses, the restlessness of the senses, wanting and wanting and wanting. Anyone who has had the experience, probably all of us to some, short spell of time, we're actually hearing. You don't know where the time went. It just flies by, and there's only one thing. What's the name? And it can go on for quite some time. And it can be interrupted by something. Like, I'm thinking of myself as the enjoyer again. Because that's our material condition. We want to be the enjoyer. But when Krishna is the enjoyer, we're in this relationship with the name, that's everything. Hare Nam Eva Kevalam. So this is our theme, awakening Namarasa. Oh, yeah. And it's done through the ear by the process of hearing. We can take the association of our previous acharyas like Bhaktisiddhanta when we're conducting our 64-round day, remember him and pray to him, etc. And similarly, here's a short statement by Srila Prabhupada on the same point. This is a letter, 1967, to a disciple, Balabi Dasi. While chanting Hare Krishna, you should always feel the presence of Krishna in person. And as soon as you remember Krishna in person, you can remember also about his talks with Arjuna. If you cannot remember Krishna in person, you should try to hear attentively the word Krishna. Hare, as you go on chanting. Continuing, and we're done. The spirit soul does not evolve like the body. The body has got 6 transformations, namely birth, growth, stay for some time, produces byproducts, dwindles, and it vanishes. All these 6 changes of the body are not applicable to the soul. The soul is permanent. It has no development, no decrease, no destruction, nothing of the sort as compared with the body. The only difficulty of the soul is that in the conditioned state of the material body, the soul is supposed to forget its identity by chanting Hare Krishna. Gradually, the soul revives its identity, or it comes out from the forgetfulness. This is not exactly development, but it is reviving one's consciousness. Everything will be gradually clear as you go on chanting Hare Krishna. Please try to chant at least 16 rounds of the beads, and while chanting, try to hear each and every word. That will make you advance in every respect. Our acharyas are instructing, supporting, begging and pleading and cajoling and hand-holding and rocking us and, go gaga, Reach out. They're very merciful and they will help you. And by that reaching out, so many nice things will happen. Remembrance of things that we have forgotten and all the support you need. You're not alone. Although the mind distraction is something we're too much familiar with. Concluding, just a reminder of something, this hear attentively message we just heard Srila Prabhupada speak and other sources that we've heard this weekend. Pronounce carefully is certainly a very essential part of hearing attentively. I mentioned it already. If you're having trouble hearing attentively, pronounce carefully and you'll hear attentively. It tricks the mind. And, last slide, if you just get really frustrated or something, here's some banners. Stop thinking. Start hearing. Or don't space out. Hear. And bigger letters. Just surrender to the sound vibration of the holy name. And finally, Please, just here. 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 I showed you this slide that somebody that attended the Japa retreat elsewhere. They're a visual person, so they created a little visual image and sent it to me. This is a modification of theirs. To Krishna, I'm sorry, I'm out of service. I'm broken, I don't work. Krishna, that's okay. It doesn't matter. I'm here for you. Just hear me. That's what they wrote. Here's, I modified it. I'm broken, I don't know if I can be repaired. Krishna, that's okay, I accept you as you are. Just hear me. Happy journey. Three things. Reminder, Mona Vrata. Mona Vrata means as soon as we're finished, no conversation. When you go to take prasadam, no conversation. Until 4:45? 4:45, no conversation. If you have small children, you have to have conversation. Make it soft and, done in such a way that it's not disturbing others. The Mona Vrata principle just helps. You'll see from observing it. Second, from experience, whatever you're used to taking prasadam, eat less. For both breakfast and lunch. Because many of the responses when we have our 4:45 session is things were great until I had lunch. And then I was really sluggish. Our metabolism is different when you're doing what we're doing. Take prasadam, but modestly, something less than what you're accustomed to. That's practical advice from experience. And the third is, be ready for whatever Krishna wants. Sometimes and sometimes. But take it as reciprocation from Krishna, not just, the usual, the duality that we're used to, sometimes and sometimes. Be in your relationship with Krishna as much as you can. So, happy journey. See you again at 4:45. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lights.